Germ-Theory Skeptic goes swimming in sewage-tainted water.
This is incredibly sad that someone in that kind of position of power would be so remarkably stupid. You could end up with like some sort of parasite or bacterial infection, or, end up like poop in their veins. And who wants poop in their veins?
The Celsius founder was sentenced to 12 years.
Wonderful. Very glad that he got 12 years in prison. Yeah, so it was a crypto Ponzi scheme. Okay. I understand crypto and I understand Ponzi schemes. I don't understand crypto Ponzi schemes.
Hello. How the tech are you? This is our weekly-ish talk podcast on Eplex Media, where we talk about tech news and science news and whatever tech and science stuff we feel like talking about. I am historian Matt. I'm a co-host and co-producer on this show, and my other co-host and co-producer will introduce himself for his section as usual. And as such, I'll jump into my stories. I got two stories. First one's kind of funny, and the second one is, well, it's not really funny, but it's good to know. So the first one is science related. It's Germ-Theory Skeptic goes swimming in sewage-tainted water. And so why are we talking about a Germ-Theory Skeptic? Because that skeptic is, of course, RFK Jr., who is the U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services and really should know better than to swim in sewage-tainted water. But basically over the weekend, RFK Jr. shared pics of him bathing in the sewage-contaminated waters of Rock Creek, Washington, D.C. The creek is known to have sewage overflow problem and is a health hazard. The National Park Service forbids all swimming or wading in Rock Creek and other waterways in the Rock Park because of all this contamination. The creek is contaminated due to century-old sewer lines that run under the park, and over time those lines have cracked and are leaking. So for those who don't really know, the Rock Creek Park is, it just basically runs along the Rock Creek and I guess some tributaries or something. But it's basically kind of like in the middle of DC. So that's why it has a bunch of sewer lines that run under it. It's a big part of the DC area. So anyways, how do we know RFK Jr. is a germ-theory skeptic? It's because in a 2021 book, RFK Jr. claimed not to believe in germ theory. And so, yeah, maha, everybody, maha. What do you think?
This is incredibly sad that someone in that kind of position of power would be so remarkably stupid.
Yeah.
As in, like, stupid to the point that, like, it's actually notable how stupid he is.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Sad. Sets a really bad example. Definitely we're living in the worst timeline.
Yeah, seriously. It's kind of funny that, but it's also really sad at the same time. And I'm really kind of, I don't know. I have mixed feelings because, I don't really want him to get sick, but at the same time, kind of do, because he should know better and there'd be some sort of consequences, but he probably won't. And so he'll be like, oh, look, I'm healthy. There's no germs or something. I don't know. But, and he'll probably end up encouraging other people to ignore the warnings, because apparently there are signs along this creek saying, do not go in the water.
Yeah, that's the worst thing is, like, the probability that he's going to have an issue is probably, like, fairly low.
Yeah.
Even if it's high, even if it's like 50%, he gets sick, that still means that there's a 50% chance that he'll just be totally fine. And if he's fine, then obviously it's okay, right? Says everyone who doesn't understand risk assessment. So those people could end up going in this place, and then, even if the risk isn't that high, let's say it's like 1%, that's still 1 out of every 100 people who go into this place who could end up with like some sort of parasite or bacterial infection, or, end up like poop in their veins. And who wants poop in their veins?
Yeah, so apparently it's a big problem with bacteria, not parasites or other that we know of. That's the big thing that they worry about. So, and the thing is, like, the water looks clear. It doesn't look like it's there's sewage in it or anything. It looks clear, but it just has a much larger amount of bacteria, and I think like E. coli was one that was like the big one that they found, where they claimed was very high levels, like thousands of times higher than you would expect in a regular creek, right? A normal creek, it's not being contaminated. So, yeah.
And as we all know, or I guess not all of us, but as most people know, bacteria is invisible to the naked eye. You have to have a microscope to see it. So water that looks perfectly clear, refreshingly perfectly clear, and just looks great to drink could be, brimming with disgusting, horrible bacteria that will fucking kill you.
Yep. Or give you a very bad time.
It's like you see a clear liquid on a table in a glass. Should you drink it? Most people will say no.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what it is.
Right.
Like, this is water, but you also don't know what's in it. So should you be bathing in it? No.
Especially when there's warning signs telling you not to go in it. Like, I don't know. I don't know where the signs were, but there were supposedly signs posted, and apparently he hiked into the area. But we assume that there are signs along the trail that he hiked along that says "Don't go in the water." Because it's
don't
not
bathe
just
in the poop water.
Creek. Yeah, it's not just that
RFK Jr.'s like, no, I'm gonna go bathing in the poop water. I'm gonna bring my grandkids in the poop water.
That's right.
Yeah, it's even worse for the kids, because it's like, they don't know what they're doing. They're children. So like, he's putting his grandkids in danger.
Because, kids assume the adults are going to keep them safe. But anything else? I should go on to my next one.
What you got next?
Okay, next is, it's kind of a better story, I guess, but the Celsius founder was sentenced to 12 years in jail for his whole fraud thing. So the Celsius founder, Alex Mashinsky, was sentenced. So this was something happened a while ago. So Celsius Network is a cryptocurrency bank, and the idea is you would take your cryptocurrency, put it in this bank, and then it gives depositors like high interest rate. Their slogan was "Unbank yourself," and that was kind of a big thing. They're trying to say, oh, well, you can just be your own bank and save money in our network, as they call it, and get your own interest, and not have to go through a bank. But without banks means not there's no safety or law around it. Anyways, Mashinsky pleaded guilty to securities fraud and commodities fraud in December. So it took a while for him to get to sentencing. But apparently he made $48 million in the fraud, which sounds like a lot, and it is a lot, but the bank failed with a deficit of $1.19 billion that it just basically just lost. And part of this fraud was that it inflated the network's token called Cell. So I think he made money off of the token, not off of the actual deposits that were lost. That's my guess. And I don't remember exactly how the network's token worked, but I assume the token was used as either what you'd get as interest or something you have to hold to get into the network or something like that. Anyways, in 2023, the FTC reached a $4.7 billion settlement against Celsius. So it was before all this happened, and also banned Celsius from ever handling assets again. So it could not be a bank. It couldn't hold any assets from any customers, no cryptocurrencies, nothing. That's because it just basically mishandled everything. Allegedly, so this is in the article mentioned by somebody, but I'm going to put allegedly on here because it's I didn't doubly verify this, but Mashinsky started selling unbankrupt yourself merchandise after the Celsius collapse to mock victims. So that's horrible. What do you think?
Wonderful. Very glad that he got 12 years in prison.
Yes.
Yeah. Probably not enough. I don't know. You hear about people like stealing bread and going to prison for years, and this guy stole billions of dollars and only goes to prison for 12 years. But I don't know. 12 years is like a pretty big chunk of your life, so I guess that's good.
Yeah. So I didn't mention this, but apparently, like, I think he was the one who went on some news programs when Celsius was doing its thing, and people kept asking, like, how are you able to give these such high rate, return rates on their deposits? And he would just like say some stuff, but he never would give a clear answer. So people were already concerned way back when there's actually happening that this was some sort of Ponzi scheme. And that sounds like they didn't clearly state it in the article, but that really sounds like what happened. He was running a Ponzi scheme, whether or not he intentionally did from the beginning or not, but that's what it devolved into, because there's just no way he could have kept up those high rates and at the same time, like, obviously ran out of money and the whole thing collapsed.
Yeah, so it was a crypto Ponzi scheme. Okay. I understand crypto and I understand Ponzi schemes. I don't understand crypto Ponzi schemes. I say I understand crypto. I understand the protocol. I don't really understand like the market, the crypto market itself.
Yeah. Well, the first thing is kind of my pet peeve is everybody calling everything a Ponzi scheme. Not everything's a Ponzi scheme. And particularly in crypto, most of the things that they complain that people are calling Ponzi schemes are not Ponzi schemes. It doesn't mean that they're not a scam, of some sort, but they're not a Ponzi scheme. Most of the time, it's actually a pump and dump which works differently. They either create a token or buy up a token that's low value and then, pump it up by selling it to their supporters or some sort of thing, just making the price go really high from people getting interested in it for whatever reason, and then selling into that interest. That is a pump and dump, not a Ponzi scheme. But this looks like it actually was a Ponzi scheme where people were putting their money in, putting their cryptocurrency in, and expecting interest rate. And basically what the guy was doing was using later depositors' money to pay out interest to early depositors. That's a Ponzi scheme.
Yep. That's like definition of a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I should say allegedly. It's not clear that that's exactly what he was doing, but that is this is what it looks like.
So I've heard the term rug pull a lot. Is that the same as pump and dump?
Yeah.
So pump and dump and rug pull are basically the same.
When whoever owns all the tokens or most of the tokens, the one who's running basically the pump and dump sells all of their tokens like all at once and the price crashes. That's
the dump in the pump and dump. It's not the kind of dumps that RFK Jr. would be interested in.
Right. Not the one that he likes to apparently swim in.
Those kind of dumps. All right. Well,
so a little bit of good news on that end. I think CoffeeZilla did a short segment on it, a little more depth. He's been following it for a while. So read the article that I've linked in the show notes for more information if you're interested, or look at the CoffeeZilla videos on it. Something good kind of happened. So
yep. I love it when bad people actually go to prison. Thank you for tuning in for How the Tech Are You? We do this show every week and we put it out in segments on YouTube. If you'd like to check out our other shows, you can do that at echoplexmedia.com. And if you'd like to support us, you can do that at patreon.com/echoplex or eplex.store, where you can buy our swag. Check us out live at twitch.tv/echoplexmedia. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And there should be another video on screen in one of these places. Go ahead and click on that video and keep watching. Have a great tech and week.